Thank you for the invitation. And yeah, beautiful picture. Thanks to my colleagues and to the demo tour. So quickly, Embraer, 4 different entities. The commercial aviation that I'm working with. The executive entity with the private jets. So the Praetor and the Phenom, pretty popular, especially in the US. In the middle, you have the defense and security with the KC-390, very popular aircraft. Even in Greece, we have an active campaign with the Greek government for the aircraft. And then the service and support, doing all the, let's say, support for the 3 other entities. Just about the E2, we just reached 500 firm orders for the program, so definitely a huge success, thanks to the recent order from the leasing company Zora. They just ordered 15 aircraft. So now we have 24 current or future operators across the world, so very different types of companies, many of them in Europe, so definitely the E2, so the new version of the Embraer is definitely gaining some momentum here. If you have any questions, you can ask them now or after. I mean, it's as you wish. Kostas invited me to talk about the market outlook. So this is our view on our segment. So all the aircraft below 150 seats aircraft. So I'm sorry, we released the market outlook in July, so I will still use the data from last year. Maybe we'll have some changes for this year. So we foresee for the next 20 years almost 11,000 aircraft in our segment, so a pretty solid figure, divided into 3 categories. So the turboprops that you know very well here in Greece, and with the flyer we did fly the ATR 42500 yesterday, so interesting experience. The jets up to 100, so basically the regional aviation, very popular in North America due to the scope close. And then the jets in between 100 and 150 seats. This is what we call now the small narrow bodies, so the narrow bodies that are complementing the 320 or the 737. And Europe accounts for around 20% of these figures, so still a pretty solid demand here in Europe, and the small narrow bodies accounting for almost 60% of this total. And actually we see more and more orders from those small narrow bodies since COVID. We had last year 201 orders from both Embraer and the Airbus on the 220. 2026 will definitely beat this figure, because with the big order from AirAsia on 220, we are already at 150. So definitely the trend will follow. And why do we think we have more and more orders on the small narrow body? 4 trends. First, we are more and more in the fragmented world with the geopolitical constraints. We see that airlines are trying to disconnect, to reschedule the flows, disconnecting from a country or region, reconnecting to another. So definitely you need some adaptation to have more connectivity within the region or within the country. Then we see more and more demand for passengers looking for alternative destinations, less crowded destinations. And that's why airlines are trying to capture this demand for mid-cities and secondary markets. Third point, I think it would be very valuable for Emirates, premium passengers. More and more people are willing to pay, not only for the holiday, but as well for the flight, to have an enhanced experience for the full journey. And I think Delta, for the first time in their life, in terms of revenue, the premium cabin was higher than the economy. So definitely a very interesting trend as well. And last one, we see more and more airlines trying to match as much as they can capacity with the demand. This is called capacity discipline. And for instance, KLM in Amsterdam, they can fly from the smallest module, from the E175, to the 321neo, same day, same destination. They just need to adapt. At 9 a.m., maybe it's a busy day, they will put a bigger aircraft. Then at 1 p.m., less people, so put in a smaller aircraft. So that's, in that sense, the small narrow bodies are really a valuable module to keep growth within the region. So, not my most beautiful slides, but this is all the flights operating in the southeastern region in Embraer. So over 140 routes, 18 airlines, so pretty solid presence, but actually this is not just about Embraer. The region is performing very well. In terms of ASK, the region is actually outperforming the average Europe since COVID, so definitely huge performance of the region. And you can say, okay, so growth, you mean very big aircraft, but which is not always the case. Yes, you need those aircraft to capture market. But if you want to have a continuous sustainable growth, you need as well small narrow bodies. Why? To open new routes, as I said, capture secondary cities with those, the E2 or the 220, they have lower costs. So definitely you can be able to open new routes easily compared to a bigger aircraft. Connectivity, you can be able to do more and more frequencies. And one especially important point here in Greece, seasonality. I think you have a big effect of seasonality of huge demand in summer, but during shoulder season or winter, it's more difficult to balance. So definitely in that sense, the small narrow bodies are keen to maintain a good operation. And this is exactly where the E2 is coming up. So in Greece, I'm going to take just the two main airlines, so AG and Sky Express. They do operate the ATR, they do operate the 320, 321, but you have nothing in the middle. There is a big gap of around 100 seats where you have nothing, and definitely the E2 in between 110 and 140 seats could help tapping the gap. And you can say, okay, this is just theoretical. So I looked for examples of routes to defend this. And I found this very interesting example, Helacrion to Tirana. It's one daily flight on one airline is flying the 320, the other is flying the ATR. And actually the load factors are very different. Load factor of the A320, 50% annually. Load factor of the ATR, 92%. So definitely on one side the module is too small to catch capacity. On the other side, the other module is too big for the destinations. So definitely a very good example of how the E2 or the 220 could help catching this demand and helping Greek airlines to better grow in the future. And especially the E2, three main advantages. So in terms of economics, 20% lower in terms of trip cost than the 320, so definitely a huge improvement, but still having a similar cost per seat. So if you divide it the cost per the number of seats, we are almost equivalent. So in terms of seats, the E2 is definitely doing very well. Reliability. I know it can be an issue as well, more on the turboprops here in Greece, but the E2 is actually has 2 times less delays than the 220. So during summer can be a big difference to avoid connection to long haul. So definitely a huge advantage of the E2. And the PAX experience. It's a cabin with a 2x2, so we have more space rather than the 2x3 or a 3x3. So definitely in terms of for the premium passengers, it's definitely a huge improvement. So yeah, I try to be quick. Again, the beautiful picture with everybody from last year. So I hope I will see an E2 flying again in Greece and in Scotland.
Not only in Greece, you know, different parts of the world.
Different part of the world.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions for Josselin?
When you look at A220
Yes.
and E2, what are the estimations of your company about market share?
So in Europe, the 220 still has 70% versus 30 on the E2. On the last 3 years, in terms of orders, we are almost at 60 on the E2, 40 for the 220. So the trend is starting slowly to get on par. I would say globally the 220 still have a more market share.
Yeah, and you said also reliability of A220
Yeah.
is less good
Correct.
than
Yeah.
on E2, and the reason for that?
Many reasons, but I would say it's a clean sheet design, so it's a completely new aircraft built by the Canadian at the time, when we just reused our module on the E1, so we already experienced many issues that we were able to fix with the AD, and we just improved this on the E2 versus the 220 that are actually experiencing those issues now, the corrosion for instance. They spend many more times in maintenance because they didn't have time to experience the corrosion before. So I would say, yeah, I would say it's because it's a new aircraft, they have issues that they couldn't think of before.
And who's the biggest Embraer customer?
Who is that?
Biggest or the largest?
It's Azul, and then Porter and KLM.
And number of aircraft?
It's around 40. 40 for Azul, Porter they still have 30, and KLM 25, but more incoming.
They need it now for the new Montreal airport.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's going to be 85, so.
Hopefully.
Well, they made a.
Yeah.
And also, it is the biggest aircraft operating to city.
To London City, correct. Yeah.